Hola, buenos dias from Costa Rica again. Haven't talked to you in a while, and I don't do as many videos as I used to. But I do have some news that I want to share with you. Well, let's jump right into it. We're moving back to Canada. What? Yeah. A lot of people will ask, well, why are you doing that? You know, it's paradise. It's beautiful where you are, and it's true. We absolutely adore it. We love it here. But the short reason basically is the US influence. I'm not going to hide behind any other excuse. It's the US influence. If you buy a house in Costa Rica, it's in US. If you buy a car, a vehicle, most of them are in US dollars unless you buy from an individual. Many of the services around here are in US dollars. Lawyers' fees, even doing a topography, even for our house, they ask for US dollars. Even an exterminator, we got a quote, the original quote in US dollars. Contractors, US dollars. They have their own currency here, the colony. And the exchange between the Canadian dollar and the colony is quite good. The problem is they're basing the exchange. They don't, for one thing, they don't recognize the Canadian dollar here. They recognize the US dollar and they recognize the colony. And they base the Canadian dollar on how the US dollar is doing. So the Canadian dollar is doing better against the US than it was, but so is the colony. However, because the colony is doing better against the US, they diminish the value of the Canadian. So anyway, if you're a Canadian and you're thinking of moving to Costa Rica, it is a very important factor, something that we did not expect. We expected to pay everything in colony here. So there's also the gringo pricing. It is a factor. It is a reality that you're facing. You're white, you're Caucasian, you're going to the farmer's market, you're going somewhere in town, maybe not grocery stores because the prices are pre-established, but if you go anywhere where there's cash involved, oftentimes you will have a different price for, it's not listed, but they will charge you a little bit more, a gringo tax that we call. And that, I was told, that is sometimes relevant if you don't integrate yourself, but that is not true. I mean, we've been integrating ourselves. We've been learning Spanish ever since we got here. Totally, getting into the community and making friends and stuff like that. But not everybody knows you. And so unless it would take years for you to be able to integrate, and you will always find people who will take advantage. You go to the farmer's market, you'll pay different prices every week on your avocados, for example, from the same salesman. So yeah, okay, prices do fluctuate depending on the season, but from week to week, it shouldn't be varying that much. And if you ask them to quote you in colonies, what they will do oftentimes, for a gringo anyway, they will take the US dollars that it would ask you, and then they would transfer it into Costa Rican in their favor, of course. So you could end up paying even more that way. So it's not necessarily an advantage. So if you're thinking of moving to Costa Rica as a Canadian, this is something that you definitely need to take into consideration. The other thing you need to take into consideration, particularly if you're on a pension or if you're receiving income from Canada, is the taxation. In Canada, if you make less than roughly $100,000 a year, you will be paying anywhere between 20 to 23, 24% income tax. If you don't have an address in Canada and you move to Costa Rica, I'm talking about spending 183 days a year outside of Canada. At that point in time, you could become, because it's more complex than that, but you could be considered a non-resident. At that point in time, they have to deduct 25% income tax at source. You're not using the roads, you're not using the medical system, you're not using anything in Canada if you live here full-time, but they will charge you a lot more, in some cases, income tax at source. Now, when you file your income tax returns, there's a lot of factors that will be taken into consideration, but when you're talking about buying power, you will be left with 75 cents on your dollar. So that's something else to think about. The other thing is for us, the tipping point was we have a bank account here, and I wanted to try it. I filled out a form, sent that to my pension, and I asked them to deposit it into our Costa Rican account here. I specifically asked to transfer it from Canadian dollars to colones, into my colones account here. What I did not realize is they hired a third-party company, bank, that took my Canadian income, transferred it to US dollars, and then transferred it again to colones. So I've lost twice on that same income. Now, do that conversion, and then do that conversion again with the taxation, okay, for 25%. How much is left on your dollar? Costa Rica is a beautiful country. For an American, they don't have that issue. They don't have the exchange issue, and their taxation system is completely different. Their US dollar is accepted here on par. So that's a non-issue. But if you're Canadian, it's something that you may want to think about and explore and really ask the tough questions. I suggest hiring a good international accountant before even making your decision to see where you're at. What you're hearing in the background is the cicadas. They're loud, yes. So anyway, I thought I'd do a quick video on that. We are heading back to Canada at the end of April. We have sold the house here, and we are sad. We are sad because we love it here. We've always said, we love two countries now. We've always had a soft spot for Canada. This is our home country. We are Canadians. We're proud of it. But we also have adopted Costa Rica, a beautiful country. We've made some amazing local friends here that we'll have for the rest of our life. And we will come back to vacation here for sure. But unfortunately, the fiscal dependence that they have on the U.S., now they're talking, there's a rumor going around that they will be building 2 or 3 bases for the U.S. Army. We don't have an army in Costa Rica. It's definitely something to think about, the politics and the dollar, before making a final decision. So I will do a video when it gets closer to moving, or maybe when we move. I will inform you where we're moving in Canada, because that's still... it's not something that is 100% nailed down. We have a pretty good idea. But we're looking forward to the challenge. And this experience that we've had here in this beautiful country is not lost. It's something that we'll carry and cherish in our heart for the rest of our life. In the meantime, pura vida.